The opening of the gates of hell and the coming of the damned changed everything. An already hard world became harder, and in such times, only the fiercest of people can survive. Entire countries, societies, and cultures were wiped away as evil spread out into the world, and a million threads of fate were cut short as innocent people died who would have lived had the gates just stayed closed. Some, however, like the children of Yggdrasil, were almost uniquely suited to thrive in this new world, and in the brutal north, where the cold saps at the strength of a man until he willingly embraces death, they met the demons with bolt and blade, and they revelled in it. Now, after 8 centuries of combat and war, they are the perfect hunters of the damned. Those who have met the children know them to be fierce warriors, skilled traders, industrious craftsmen, and curious scholars. In the harsh north, there is little room for those who cannot find their way in society. Everyone has a task, and every task is important. A job done poorly can cost lives in the deep winter. Led by the sun jarls, the towns of the children act as the anchors of their society, engaging with other cultures, farming the land, fishing the seas, and acting as the training grounds for the Vayl, the hunter tribes. They act as social and cultural centers for visitors, and are responsible for diplomatic efforts between the children and the rest of the world. The Vayl, led by the moon jarls, do not seek deer or wolves out amidst the old forests. They hunt the drower that spill from the gate, the demon filth who seek to claim the north, and who would set upon the world tree, the blessed Yggdrasil, with axe and torch if there were not strong enough warriors to stop them. Now the children track the migration of the northern gate, the hunter tribes moving to intercept bands of demons that use it to enter the world. They slaughter those they find, and any rare artifacts are sent back to the settlements. From there they do brisk trade with both the Christians and Muslims to the south, who are always eager for samples and research materials. It is said that the children have become uniquely adept at capturing live demons, and that they have secret deals with other nations to provide them with subjects for testing. But if this is true, the secret is jealously guarded, as no proof has ever been provided. Powerful elements of the many nations in Europe and further afield lobby their leaders to support the children, granting them supplies, money, and access to arms and equipment to ensure that they continue to win their battle against the demonic and heretical forces in the north. While some of the more entrenched faithful see the children as pagans, barely worthy of salvation, children themselves view all men as seeds of the Yggdrasil. Do all faiths not share similar stories? As the world tree grew in the hearts of men, did not the tree of knowledge grow in the Garden of Eden? As Odin, Vili, and Vayl carve up the frost giant Ymir to create the world, did not Allah create the heavens and the earth, the seas and the skies? For the children, all faiths lead to the Yggdrasil, even if some men no longer recognize the name of the ground from which their faith grows. Yet, despite the demons, the deep snows, and the dark, and despite the esteem that their fellow man grants them for facing the horrors of the north, the children have their own secrets, their own enemy, lurking in the deepest of the woods, a long shadow pointed at their heart. For the children of Yggdrasil, their entire society is built around supporting the efforts of their roving warbands, Vayl, as they track bands of demons around the frozen north. For such a task, only the best may lead, proven warriors who understand the importance of tactics, sacrifice, and caution. Out in the old woods, where the shadows are deep and the long claws of the realm walkers await, it takes tremendous skill to keep a warband alive. Nobody can become a moon jarl until they have spent at least 15 winters on the hunt, and only then do their tests begin. There is no need for those who wish to take on the burden of being a moon jarl to prove themselves in combat, as if their skill in battle was less than sufficient, they would have fallen to the drower or the Wendels a long time ago. What follows are tests of courage and caution, spirit and soul, and kinship and family. Those who wish to become moon jarls must undergo 3 tests. First, they must spend a full lunar cycle of winter alone in the deep forest. They leave their settlements when the moon is new, just a tiny sliver in the sky, the glint of it too weak to light their way into the woods. Only when the moon has waxed and waned and is once again a sliver can they return. The deep woods are a treacherous place, with freezing temperatures, lack of food, and the endless threat of enemies robbing them of sleep. To survive, they must become ghosts, moving through the snow and ice while leaving no trace, sleeping with one eye open in honor of Odin himself. The only way to make it home is to understand that in the dark forests, with the Wendels and the Realm Walkers, you are no longer a hunter, you are the prey. It is said that the wisest of the Jarls learn to appreciate and harness their fear during these long nights, mastering it completely until nothing they face can burden their souls with terror or despair. The second test is one of character. The Jarl must be able to find 10 men and women to speak of their deeds. Each one must have a different story of his bravery, intellect, fighting prowess, or compassion. These people will form his new tribe and will become his new family. They must be willing to follow him and trust him with their lives and with the future of their settlements. It is not good enough to be a strong fighter, and the future Jarl must show that he has lived his whole life meeting the standards required and honoring the gods with his deeds and words. The stories told in his name are tattooed on his skin. The names of each of the 10 warriors who would proclaim his strengths to the gods are carved in his armor, weapons, and shields. The Volvas say their words of power as the Jarl swears an oath to Frigg to stay true to the stories told in his name. Should they fail to do so, they are forever denied entry into Valhalla, and instead their soul must make a pilgrimage to Amvasnir, to await with Fenrir until the final days. For the third test, the Jarl must seek the blessing of Odin himself. They must go and gather special herbs from among the trees that, when burnt, produce an acrid and cloying smoke. This invokes vivid waking dreams and opens the pathway to communicate with the gods. They must then consume a strong tincture made from blessed mushrooms to aid their steps along this path. The herbs are burned in a sweat lodge fire, and they enter, naked and without food and water, staying inside with a high-burning fire until Odin comes to them. Most often, the Jarls say that he comes as a bird and speaks to them in the old tongues. He asks them about their fears and dreams, and why they feel that they can lead his children in the time of greatest peril. They say he takes their soul from their body and brings them on a journey through the stars, showing them all the realms and the endless possibilities of existence. Then he returns them and renders judgment on them. Some are told that they are fit to lead, and others are told that they are not. All accept the judgment of the Allfather. Some come out harboring secrets, mysteries that Odin whispered in their ears that have changed them utterly. They go to the skalds and the Volvas, having furtive conversations that no one else is privy to. Then they join their ranks, spending more and more time invoking rituals and communing with the gods at the sacred places that they can only visit alone, out amongst the trees. Sometimes they appear to be broken by the weight of the knowledge that Odin places on them, and they wander out into the forests and are never seen again. The Volvas say that Odin takes these men to protect the tribe, that there is something in them, a path on the thread of their destiny, that would spell doom for those around them. They say that these men are plucked from the earth by Odin when they enter the forest and turned into feathers for the ravens Hugin and Munin, so that they might lift the eyes of the Allfather to new heights, for whether they become a jarl, skald, or Volva, or just a feather on the wing of a bird, all have a place in Odin's plan. Among the children, stories are the foundation of their society. Legends are history, and the tribes are encouraged not just to tell the old tales of Odin, Thor, Freyr, and Freya, but also to write their own with their own deeds in life. It is only by writing these new epics they will get to take their place beside the gods during the end times. The skald are amongst the most respected storytellers of the children, and even in the most vicious of fighting, their voices ring out, describing the new sagas that they write with every swing of their axe and every bullet fired. Skalds are often picked from the outsiders of society, the people who don't fit in anywhere else, but who would often be visited by the gods in their dreams. Much like the jarls, those thought to be fit for the role of skald would be brought to the sweat lodges, provided with herbs and mushrooms, and then seek deep meditation to better understand the motivations of the gods and their place in the unfolding story of the Yggdrasil. The gods are particular about those who tell their stories, and if the skald emerged from the tents with the blackened eyes of a raven having replaced their own, they would have all the proof they needed that they now acted as the eyes of Odin himself, and their voices could carry the deeds of the children from the murky mud of battle high to Valhalla. Those who failed would go and try to polish their skills, practicing their writing, oration, and wit, desperate to be allowed to return and seek Odin's favour once more. Warriors who fight near the skalds have been known to do so with increased fervour, and where the fighting is fiercest, the skalds scream loudest. The unfolding tale of bravery in battle encourages every man and woman in earshot to fight like Thor himself. Skalds are also known to enjoy the favour of Loki. The wise trickster reaches out from beyond and blesses skalds with mischief and mayhem, allowing them to sow confusion among their enemies and escape otherwise fatal encounters. While the children are skilled warriors who excel at fighting the drower that come from the roaming gates of fire, they also possess another skill that is highly sought after. Even among the leaders of the Christians and Muslims, it is known that the children have found a way to do the most incredible thing, although it comes at tremendous risk. The most learned of the Volvas and the master blacksmiths of the children of the Yggdrasil have discovered a means to produce manacles that allow them to control the drower. It is claimed that it took 1,000 Volvas, gathered from all across the Northlands, to commune with the gods. They each had to sacrifice an eye for the knowledge and a finger for the skill to write the runes that only their now blind eye could see. Using a secret alloy made from rare metals, stamped with runes that no other eye can discern, and quenched in the blood of powerful demons, the manacles cut off the drower's connection to their home. While it does not render them docile, as a warrior must dedicate himself to control of the demon, it does make them controllable, and allows them to be turned against their former allies. The children have little interest in these creatures, using secret transport networks to send them south to the fateful nations who value them highly as research specimens. There is, however, one type of beast that they do keep for themselves, the mighty Jotun. The giants can easily crush an enemy and possess incredible powers that allow them to freeze opponents on the spot. The children believe that these are the long-lost brothers of the mighty Loki, and that he would look poorly on them were they to send them south to whatever fate the fateful had in store for them. Warbands that capture and keep a Jotun are not allowed to return to the settlements for as long as the Jotun survives. While they can be controlled, they are also extremely temperamental and dangerous, and as much as the children fear the rage of Loki, they also fear the Jotun themselves even more, and cannot take the risk of allowing them near the settlements. Huscarls are hardy warriors known for their prodigious size and strength, even amongst the children. Huscarls tend to stand out early among the other infants in the settlements, as they grow taller, faster, and broader than their peers. The jarls say they are blessed by Thor, who gives them strength and courage, and they put on the path to becoming soldiers at a younger age than most, as there is little doubt that they are bred for battle. They act as the dedicated bodyguards of the Sun and Moon Jarls, and will often accompany them on their journeys south to other nations. This is partly because of their fighting prowess, but also because they act as tremendous diplomatic element as well. The Huscarls will put on shows of strength for dignitaries, kings, church princes, and any other important persons that the Jarls need to impress. These can include the lifting of enormous stones, hurling a huge two-handed axe through thick wooden doors, or carrying an ox. Some have been known to issue an open challenge to any champion of the lord they are visiting to wrestle. The huscarls are experts in a complex form of collar and elbow wrestling known as glimma. While many different forms of glimma exist, the style practiced by the huscarls specifically leans into the idea that the practitioner will be extremely strong. This allows throws to be attempted whilst off balance, but it also means that in order not to kill opponents with brutal strikes and chokes, the huscarls must hold back when having demonstration bouts. Huscarls wear the rune-forged armour in battle, made of thick plate. Each one is carefully forged by the blacksmiths in the vulvas, and they become prized possessions of the huscarls that are entrusted with them. All warriors can see or hear the faces and voices of the gods should they decide to grant them a blessing. Many report having watched Odin overlooking a battlefield as they fought, or being given strength by Thor in times of peril. Some men and women, however, are just different, and for reasons unknown to the minds of mortals, the gods select them for a greater purpose. No one knows why a warrior is chosen to be touched by the gods, but it will always happen in their dreams, when the barrier between the mind of a mortal and the mind of a god is thinnest. The dreaming mind is the most powerful stage a mortal can attain. Unfettered from limitation and unbound by understanding, it can imagine and experience anything. It is to this beacon that the gods will be lured, examining the potential of the dreamer and selecting some to undergo change. Everyone seems to experience this contact with the gods differently. Some claim they played a game with Odin for decades without end, whilst others say they fought with Thor on a plane that must surely have been the moon. Some will walk along the massive branches of the Yggdrasil with Astrid, whilst others will tend the fields with Freya. No matter what happens, after the dream, the warrior awakens, and they are no longer a mere mortal, and are now god-touched. The god-touched will have runes glowing with a blessed light, burning deep within their flesh, and no longer fear injury as they once did. Combat is now the ultimate communion for them, and for each wound that they receive, the gods will erase it, healing their flesh and replacing it instead with divine favour. Some warriors of the children, as skilled and brave as they are, will be cut down in their prime. The battlefield is a place of blood and madness, and too often will a pile of meat be left in the mud that had that very morning extolled the virtues of the gods and the love of family. This is the nature of war, as it will take everything that you have to give, and then it will take more. It seems that even the gods themselves feel that this is not right, and will work a cursed miracle. For just the briefest of moments, Valkyries will fly some of the fallen to Valhalla, so that they might feast and rest among long-lost friends and comrades, but then the gods will come for them and ask them for the ultimate sacrifice. They must leave the halls, and once again say goodbye to their friends, and return to their now torn and broken bodies and fight on. This is not a moment of sadness, for they are the chosen of the gods, but it is a time of great sacrifice. If they leave Valhalla, they do not know for certain if they shall enter it again, and be at the side of the gods come the end of days. Still, when the gods ask, what sort of man would shrug his shoulders and shirk his duties? Instead, they return, wearing the damage that killed them with pride, and they fight on. They tell tales of their friends and the family that they saw in Valhalla, who give the living the joyous or bitter news about who they saw at the feasting tables, or who was missing. The society established by the children of Yggdrasil is demanding. In the harsh climate of the north, there is little room for those who cannot be trusted to keep their word. Despite the rule of the jarls and watchful eyes of the huscarls, there are still those who will fail to overcome their baser natures. Murder is rare in the north, but jealousy, fear, or greed can still drive a man to take the life of another. Theft can also be common, especially in the winter months when food can be scarce and bellies empty. Depending on the severity of the crime, most criminals are sentenced to labour for their families of their victims. They will pay their debt and then be allowed to return to their normal lives. In the case of murder, however, such a crime cannot be forgiven. Not only is the perpetrator taken a life, but they have usurped the place of the gods and passed judgment on another. As punishment, the most heinous criminals must have their fate placed in the hands of the gods. Such criminals will be bound by a chain to one of the heavy black rocks that are said to be part of the heart of the stone giant Hrungnir. After the smiths fix their chains in place, the rune masters begin their ritual, infusing the stone with the god's hatred for the weakness of man. The prisoner must then haul the stone into combat, and his fate will be in the hands of the gods and the gods alone. Should they forgive him, he might die in glory and attend to them in Valhalla as a servant until the final days. Should they see no value in his soul, the winter cold, or the hunger, or an errant blade or bullet will sever them from the tree without achieving any glory for themselves, and they will spin away forever into the waiting black. Alrighty, so there you go, the lore for the Children of Yggdrasil. Now, many people will know, many people won't know. These are for the Trench Stench, the Westfalia monthly tribe that they do on My Mini Factory, which I'd strongly suggest you go over and check out. It's some pretty intense value for money, to be honest. So the miniatures and the art and everything, that's Westfalia, Vayl, and the lore is done by me. Unless otherwise stated, there will probably be like bits and bobs at different points that I don't do. And the actual game design and the rule design and things like that is done by Jon, who many of you will probably know in the community as Vayl. And we just, we have quite a bit of fun with it. It's not French Crusade, as it were, but it's, we're trying to do things that are interesting to us, that are fun to us, that are in that world or weird world war setting and can be used as proxies for your Trench Crusade models. And, essentially it's Trench Crusade adjacent, but when it comes to the lore, I'm not doing stuff that I think the Trench Crusade folks would do or could do or even should do. I'm actually trying to do stuff that's kind of interesting and different, if you would. So for the Children of Yggdrasil, what I wanted to do was, when we decided we wanted to explore Vikings and Viking concepts and that idea, I wanted them to be a very kind of moral society, because we knew that we were going to be doing this secondary group, this arch enemy for them. We didn't just want their enemies to be the things coming from the gate, right? We wanted to explore their own faith and things like that. And the good part about this, the fun we can have, is we're not bound by the Abrahamic religions, right? So we've very kind of purposely made these folks very pagan. As far as they're concerned, they're pretty chill on it. They just think everybody else believes what they do. They just call it different shit. As far as they're concerned, they're pretty relaxed when it comes to that kind of stuff. They've got bigger fish to fry than what somebody else calls Odin, basically. And we just, we have a huge amount of fun with it. So if anybody's going to ask, because people always ask, no, it's not official Trench Crusade stuff at all. It's us having fun, providing something through the Trench Stench My Mini Factory tribe that you can go over and have a look at and just buy into if you want to. Sign up for that shit. It's good. Everybody works really hard on this stuff, let me tell you. So feel free to go over and have a look. Jon works incredibly hard on it, and Kawi works incredibly hard on it. So go over there and have a peek and knock yourself out. So what I want to do is I want to run through the rules side of things a little bit for the children, so you'd know what you were buying into. If you're looking for something to have fun with in non-official way within the world of Trench Crusade, you can definitely use these guys. So the Children of Yggdrasil have an assortment of special rules. The first one is Shield Wall. French shields equipped by the Children of Yggdrasil do not grant armor. Instead, they provide the benefit of cover at all times. Children of Yggdrasil equipped with trench shields always count as having the defended obstacle bonus when charged. Additionally, a friendly model in base-to-base contact with a model equipped with a shield treats the shield bearer as cover. So that's really fun. rule that Jon came up with, Vayl. I'm just going to call him Vayl because that's what people are going to know him as, even though we're all credited under our real names. Like I'm credited under my actual factual Christian name, I guess, for this thing, because that's how the real world works. That's not, Scannerbarkly isn't my fucking name. Okay, so Warriors of the North. The children of Yggdrasil cannot field war prophets, communicants, or anchorite shrines, but instead can field chieftains, huscarls, and captive giants, respectively. So when we are, I guess we can talk a little bit about the design and this stuff. When we're figuring this stuff out, when we're deciding what we're going to do here, we settle upon an established French Crusade faction that we're basing our stuff on, because it just means that we then need to make alterations on that faction, right? Does that make sense? It gives people something that they can actually play in the game and that they'll know about. But Vayl makes some sometimes subtle, sometimes dramatic changes to units, or sometimes he'll fuck stuff out of the list completely and replace it with something else. So in this case, we essentially have MHI in these units, and I'm pretty sure the reason why that happened was just because they were the first ones that got fucking designed, and we were like, oh shit, they're really cool. We actually have to include them, even though we decided to do a trench pilgrim basis. So next special rule for them, pagans. The children of Yggdrasil cannot purchase or equip iron caparots or martyrdom pills, but they can purchase combat helmets for 5 ducats. This is my favorite bit, right? That Vayl came up with. Sagas. The children of Yggdrasil often are granted visions in their dreams of great deeds that must be done to spread the glory of their gods. When you begin or join a campaign, you may choose 3 sagas to make them active. At the beginning of the game, declare a model that will attempt to complete each active saga. At the end of the game, each model that completed their saga's task is rewarded the saga's boon. The saga is then completed and no longer active or able to be attempted by any other model until the current model with its boon dies. The listed ducat cost of the completed saga is added to the model's ducat cost as if a purchased upgrade to reflect their newfound power. A model can only have 1 saga attached to it at any point, active or completed. Alternatively, you can spend a glory point to replace 1 active saga with an inactive one. Only your warband may complete these sagas. In one-off games, 3 completed sagas may be bought at the listed ducat cost as if they were an upgrade for the unit, counting towards ducat threshold as normal. So these are quite cool, I think. The first saga is Giant Slayer, and you take a model with a 50mm or larger base out of action. And if you do that, you get a 1d bonus to injure models with bases of that size. So, the saga and the boon, they'll be related to each other. Hold the line, take the downed injury result twice without being taken out of action. This model gains the skill hard as nails. Flutter String, kill 2 models that are both at long range and in cover. This model ignores the penalties for long range and in cover from that point on. Headhunter, take the opponent's leader out of action without any other model in your warband inflicting a blood marker on said leader. So you gotta 1v1 that shit. This model gains Fear and gains +1 dice to hit against models with the leader keyword. Eternal Onslaught. For the duration of the battle, this model can neither retreat nor can enemy models retreat from it. Hit with both your main and offhand weapons 3 times. This model can the boon then is that the model can neither retreat and enemies can't retreat from it either. It's just not possible. Like, you can't make those rolls. They also ignore offhand penalties. So, pretty fucking cool. Old Reliable. Complete a specific non-dash attack action. Declare which action when you declare the mode or the model that will attempt this saga. And you have to do that 4 times. And the boon is that this model has a +1 bonus or +1 dice bonus to their chosen action. Storied, complete 2 glory actions, and if you do that, you gain the skill War Stories, and then Fleet of Foot. Successfully dash 3 consecutive times. This model gains a +1 dice to its dash actions and can re-roll dangerous terrain checks, which would be super handy if I could get it on my fucking Warwolf, which I magically fail my rolls on for my dashes. I know it's Scandalous. Okay, so then we have the unique equipment list. Members of the Children of Yggdrasil have access to the following equipment. There's some pretty cool stuff in here. I'm not going to go through it all. This is all in a free magazine that Kawaii puts together. So you can download it for free. You don't got to buy the fucking models just to download the magazine. So go off, download this shit, give it a read, see if it's the kind of thing that you're interested in. So here's an example of something basically from their items. The Blood Eagle banner. The Blood Eagle banner always occupies one hand. Before the start of the battle, you may choose to either punish or offer unto the gods. If you punish, the word I can't pronounce, a still living body of a member of the opposing faction is hung upon the banner. It's a prisoner, basically, that your warband will have previously captured. When an enemy declares a charge, they must charge the model wielding the banner if it is visible, not in cover, and within 12 inches of the wearer. The charging model must be able to reach this model without climbing, leaping, or crossing dangerous terrain. If the wielder of the banner is already in combat, this power has no effect. Offer unto the gods, you may choose to hang another member of your warband from the banner. This chosen model does not participate in the battle, and all of their weapons, armor, and equipment is returned to your warband stash. But your warband gains +1 dice for all morale tests, as long as the model with the flag is not down or out of action. At the end of the battle, the model hung on the banner dies and is removed from your warband. So if you've got somebody who's like mega fucked up injuries wise, offer them to the gods. Basically. It's a pretty good way to do it. As I said, things are hard up in the north. You gotta make some hard choices. And then we have the kind of the special unique units, I guess. So we have the chieftain, who costs 80 ducats. They got a movement value of 6. They got +2 range dice, +2 melee dice, 32mm base. They can be equipped with any weapons, armor, or equipment from the Trench Pilgrims list. Their abilities are as follows. Foretold, the chieftain has been spoken to by the gods in a dream and knows the day they will die. Once per battle, when the chieftain is taken out of action for any reason, you can ignore the result as if nothing has happened. Warhorn, once per game, the chieftain may blow their warhorn to announce now is the time to strike. For the rest of the turn, your warband has +1 dice to dash actions and rolls 2d6 instead of 1d6 when they declare a charge, using the highest result. And then lead by example. Your opponent cannot spend the blood markers on any model within 3 inches of the chieftain, including the chieftain themselves, except for injury rolls. Then we have the huscarl. They cost 120 ducats, 6 inches movement, +1 ranged, +1 melee, -2 armor, and a 40mm base. They've got the rune forged armor that confers a -2 penalty to injury rolls, and if an attack would normally ignore the armor, rune forged armor will still grant a -1 penalty to that. They can purchase a Stormbreaker shield for 35 ducats. The Stormbreaker shield is a trench shield and also causes all injuries from ranged attacks the wielder takes to be at -1 dice penalty. They've got strong, they've got bodyguard, and yeah, that's it. That is it for the huscarls. Then we have the captive giants, or the Jotuns. 80 ducats, 6-inch movement, +2 dice on melee, no ranged, -3 armor, and 60mm base. You can't buy any additional equipment for them or anything like that. So they've got improvised melee weapons. So the giant treats the improvised melee weapon as a one-handed melee weapon with the keywords risky, heavy, and critical. That grants a +1 dice bonus to hit for a total of +3 dice due to its melee characteristic. The improvised melee weapon rolls on the injury chart with 3d6 instead of 2, adding all 3 dice together. So if he catches you with that freaking telephone pole or a tree or whatever he's swinging around the place, you're going to know about it. Captive giants ignore the penalties of weapons with the keyword heavy. They are subject to the rules for tough. They cause fear. They have frost breath. As an action, the captive giant can use its lethally cold breath to attempt to freeze any model, friend or foe, within 8 inches. If successful, the model is frozen. instantly causing it to be downed, but making it unable to gain any blood markers for any reason until the start of its next activation. Untamed. After deployment is completed, designate another friendly without the elite keyword within 4 inches of the giant to be the giant's handler. At the beginning of its activation, if the handler is not within 4 inches of the giant, it follows the rules of berserk for the turn. If instead the handler is dead at the beginning of the giant's activation, or if you did not or were unable to designate a handler at all, it follows the rules of berserk for the rest of the game. Berserk. The captive giant runs through the following actions in the order they're listed below. Movement. The giant must move towards the closest visible model, friend or foe, charging if it is able to reach them with a charge action, and attempting a dash action if its move if not. If it begins its activation downed, it must attempt to stand. So the best thing to do really with your giants is get them into the fray against your enemies and leave them there. Frost Breath. If there's a visible model, friend or foe within 8 inches of the giant, it must use its Frost Breath action on the closest model and then melee attacks. If the giant is in melee range, i.e. within 1 inch of any model, it must use its melee action to attack it, regardless of whether it is friend or foe. So as you can see, if that handler goes down early and the giant has not moved across the table, it's big risk, basically. So yeah, there you go. That is the Children of Yggdrasil. As I said, go to the link below. You can go straight to the My Mini Factory if you want to, or you can have a look at the downloadable details and see what you think of it. I really enjoy doing this stuff. It's a huge amount of fun. I'm learning a lot, let's say, about the process of design and collaboration and things of that nature. So up next, I'll go through the Fangs of the Seething Black. They're like the counter to the Children of Yggdrasil. They're the other side of the coin that we came up with. And there'll be a video on them later in the week. So until then, thank you all so much for watching. Go check out the tribe, and I'll talk to you all real soon. Bye.